Mesechta Bava Daf Kuf Samaches Amar Aleph. We're starting from the sixth line from the top. Okay. Kuf Samaches. Look on the top. It says the Dafim. Sagt die Gemara, Amma Abaya. Abaya had said, Ches. Amma Abaya had said, Hi, Tzuva Mirabanan da Azal Kidusha Itza. This Talmud Chacham who goes and he's going to be Makadish a woman, Nidba Amaretz Bahadei. He should bring an Amaretz with him. The reason for it is what?
I want to sit down and listen. I might be black, but I have right to sit down and listen.
Yeah. So he has to bring Amaretz with him because the Talmidei Chacham and those that were very into learning would not look at the women. They would look, but they wouldn't remember what they looked. They were more into the books, like they said. So they had to bring Amaretz with him. The regular people would look at the women. And it shouldn't, just in case, when they designated a woman and they would get engaged, so it shouldn't be switched. The Dilma Mechal Flaminate were afraid that there would be exchange if he wouldn't have brought a layman person who does look on women with him, so the Talmud Chachamim were not witnesses to help him out because he might have designated a woman to get engaged to, but you know he's into the books. He's a Talmud Chacham. So he should take Amaretz. Somebody who's a layman, a regular person who's not through the books. He'll watch the girl, he'll see the girl. Yes, and he'll see the girl. And he'll see the girl, so he won't make a mistake. And there won't be any exchanges in the middle. Sagt Imad, yeah, that he should remember. Yeah. But Baal, nice. Baal, Noisin, as Asacha, the Baal, the husband has to pay for the document for this Star Edison. In fact, one of my time, what's the reason? Why would he have to pay for the document, or even by a divorce document? Why would he have to? Why is the husband mechuyev to give it? Because it's he writes the get, right? But really, why should he pay for it? The Gemara's kasha is, in the olden times, a man was allowed to marry two women, so she needs the divorce in order for her to be able to marry somebody else. So why should the husband have the onus of paying for the get?
Maybe she wants a get.
She probably does want to get. She wants to be able to marry somebody else. So why should the husband have to be obligated to pay for the document? It says because it says in the Torah, it says explicitly in the Torah that he should write a get, a sefer kisus, and he should give it into her hands. So it says the one that's giving the get into her hands, the one that's giving the divorce document into the woman's hand, he's the one that has to write it. He's the one that's obligated to pay for it, to write it. No, the husband has to give the get. He can do it through a shliach. But it says, in the Torah it says that the husband should write the get and give it to her. So the one that's giving it to her is the one that's writing. So it's the husband. So he has to pay for the document. Says the Gemara, what about today? Right, we wanted she should pay for it because she needs it. He doesn't need it. He can marry another woman. He's not stuck. Says the Gemara, what about today? He says the lo yavdin in the hachi. Today we don't do that. Why? Because shadiu rabban ha'isha. They made the woman pay for the divorce document. Because what will happen what will happen is that because he'll take his time. He's not in a rush. So if she wants to get faster, she'll pay for it. We learned that we write a star for the chay for the leiva. The leiva says he wants to have a star that's written for him, even though the malva is not with him. You hear that they write a star chay for the leiva. The leiva says, "Write me up a star because I want to go to the malva. He might not have any time, so I want to have a star ready that he lent me the money. So he can write it even though the mal was not with him. But the Gemara says, who pays for it, for the document? The Leva. In fact, Gemara Pshita itself understood that the Levi should pay. He's gaining out of it. Says Gemara Leitzich, it's not so simple. Be'iska. It's talking about he did a hete iska. He made, if you remember from Ezel Nashach, he did a half loan, a half pickup to avoid the problem with ribis. But B'Peil Mamish, he's giving him money to the Levi, and the Levi he's going into business with the Levi, and he's splitting the profits. So I would have thought, hey, the Malva's getting money also. Maybe the Malva should pay for it. Comes Gemara says, no, the Levi is gaining much more. But the Levi, he had zero. He couldn't even start a business. It all came from the Malva. So Gemara yeah, that's what he said. He made a iska. But so I would have thought, who should pay for the document? The Malva is gaining. So we say, no, the Levi is making. He would have never been able to go into business without the Malva's money. Right. It says the Meicha could write up a star, have them write up a star for the buyer, so not to waste time, so that the buyer should be able to buy it and the document will be ready. Says the Gemara, but who pays for the document? The buyer. The buyer is gaining out of it because he's getting the karka. Pshita, for the Gemara, it's so simple, self-understood. The Gemara is not so simple. It's talking about somebody who's selling the field because the field is not such a good field, or there's taxes on the field. He wants to get rid of the field, or the field is so far away from it, it's too much of a bother to deal with it. So the Malva has an interest in selling. So maybe the Malva should have to pay for it. Says the Gemara, no, because the main benefit, who's really benefiting, is the buyer. Yeah, the buyer is getting real estate. He'll make money. It's the buyer. The buyer is the really. The buyer is making when he buys it. Weird. Yeah, but the Leikeach Noisen Sacha. The Leikeach has to pay for the document. So the Gemara said, Shita. Says Gemara, because it's a bad field. Either the field is far away from it, it's too big.
So Michael wants to sell.
Yeah, he wants to go.
So I would have thought,
Oh
no. So he says,
No,
like,
a
a person who wants to buy property, real estate, there's more of an interest for him because he obviously has something else in mind there. So you never know. To you, it's bad. For him, he's planning to probably throw down that old. He'll make a big building.
You should, flip a coin.
There's no flipping a coin. Like is mainly usually benefiting. Yeah, sure. If he's buying, he knows what he's doing. Yes, exactly. Okay, he doesn't know what he's doing, but he thinks he knows what he's doing. We don't write Shtar Edison. Shtar Edison is that the parents of the chassan, or the father of the chassan, and the father of the kala, they are mischayiv themselves for the wedding. That's the t'noim. So it has to be done in front of them, in front of both parents. Says in fact, and who pays for this? For the shtar, the chassan. In fact, in pshita, it's chadav pashit. Because what does it say in the Torah? Ki yikach ish isha. A man is taking the woman to Kesser Shtar Bia, but he's buying her. And we said the lekech is the one that's benefit. So he has to pay for it. So he want to here it's coming to teach us that even it's a Talmud Chacham, the Nichalei Lechamur Lekarayve, that the Shver wants a Talmud Chacham. So he has an interest in getting a Talmud Chacham. Sometimes we even learned about a Talmud Chacham who's accepting money from the Isha, who normally has to give the money for the Kedushin, the husband. But sometimes you have the reverse, that if the Isha gives the Talmud Chacham money, the Etzim sagt that the Talmud Chacham is accepting the money, das Fagenigim Fayir. So over here, the Shver, the Talmud Chacham, and even though, so he, so you want to say he's the buyer. Yeah. But I'm saying you want to say he's the buyer. Says the Gemara, no, here it's different because the Shver wants him. The Shver has more of an interest in having him as a Eidim because of Talmud Chacham. So I would have thought the Shver should pay for it, the Kala side should pay for it. So the Gemara increases in Shtar Isus with Kablonis. What is that Isus? Shtar Isus is a sharecropper, a guy who works in your field, and he makes a deal that I take half the field for my panasa, and meaning I get a share in the field. I get a percentage. He works for the Balabas and he takes a big percentage.
Because of his work.
Or for his work. Or the Kablanus, or he says, I'm leasing it, I'll pay you a set amount for the year, If it makes money, all the money is mine. If it loses money, it's my loss. But B'Poel Mamish, who writes this star of Aritz Kablanus, it says who pays for it? The Mekabel, the Kabbalah, or the others. They're the ones that pay for it. In fact, of course they're going to pay for it. Says so no, like Sichel over here, it's talking about the Buddha. It's talking about a field.
Also bad.
It's not bad, but you work the field. You plow the field, but you can't plow anymore. You can't plant the field. You have to leave it for a year or two till it gets its nourishment. So the field the sand will be good sand, or the soil will be good soil for planting on it. So you have to leave it fallow. You have to leave it unworked for 2 years. So in those 2 years he did it. So he's not getting anything. So maybe the owner of the field should pay for the.
So he still has to pay.
So he says no. He still has to pay the kaplan, the others, the workers. Eventually he'll make
At the
money.
end of the day, he's going to make money.
Right. So at the end of the day, he's going to make money. Is correct, and that's why he has to pay for it. Ein Kaisim started Beidadin, Elamidash name. We said one doesn't write started Beidadin unless it's done Midas both. My started Beidadin. What's the star of Beidadin? Says here in Bava they tied study Tanosa, that the studies that the Sefer Hadayonim would write the tinus of the Baldim. They would write what's exactly the tinus before they started din. They had to be very careful when they wrote the tinus, because later on they wouldn't be able to change the way it was written. You can't do that. He says, "Mishakasu Seifrei Hadayon," meaning the Rashbam, Estanoiseyam. Once the Seifrim had written the details of what the tinus was, they cannot be tracked anymore. Yeah, you have to be very careful when you write your tinus before you give an investment into the star. Make sure all the times, because you're not going to be able to change any tinus later. So, okay, started tinus. You can't come with new tinus. Whatever tinus you wrote in the star, that's what it is. So that's what started Beirut means. That's according to the Bava. Rabbi Abba says no. He says Zebedel Leidain Nachol, Zebedel Leidain Nachol. It's Zabla. What is Zabla? That instead of going to a Bezdin, so both Zdadim pick a dayan of their own. So the Tzad Echad, the two people that are fighting, Reuben and Shimon are fighting. So Reuben chooses a dayan for his side, Shimon chooses a dayan for his side, and these two dayanim choose a third dayan. That's how it works. That's Zebedel Lezem, Zebedel Lezem. And they can't retract once they chose the dayanim, and those two chose a third dayan. No, I don't want this, but it's too late. You chose it. That's it. It's done. That's the best. Whatever they're passing, that's what it is. For both of them, according to the Pshat in Bava, it says that each one wrote their tinus in the star. So he says each one had a separate star. This Baldin wrote his tinus in one star, and this Baldin wrote his tinus in the other star. And that's how it was. And the Tanakhama says, no, they both had to write the tinus on one star. So let us say the Tanakhama and Shimon Gamliel are arguing on the Inya of Midas Dain. The Marsava Koifin, the Marsava Zain Koifin. What's the Midas Dain? One says, listen, I don't want to pay for two stars. It's a lot of money. Let's put it on one star. Could I be koif for the other guy and say, you have to chip him, we're chipping, you have to chip him for this same star. You can't write your own star, we're chipping him for one star. Could we be koif for? So he says, that Marsov says, koifim, we can force, they should use one star. And Midas Dain, because then, what are you making me lose money for? If we can have both times on one star, why should I have to put it on another star? Says, you cannot force him. You cannot force him to put it on one star. And therefore, each one can say, I don't want to chip him for your star. I'll write my own star. You write your own star. Okay. Says the Gemara. So let us say that's the svara of the machlokes between Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and the Tanakhama. Says the Gemara, like, no. The Kuli Alma Kaifin. Everybody is in agreement that you can force one star. Over here it's different. Here, why did Rabbi Shimon Gamil say that they could put it on separate studies? Rabbi Shimon Gamil, because because one Baldin could say, I don't want your tightness together with my tightness. Why? Because the Thomas Halai Arya Arva. You, to me, seem like a guy, like a lion, who's looking for ways to slug up my tightness. So if you're going to have it on one document and you can see both tightness, no, if each one has the tightness on separate stories, so he cannot see all his tightness, he can't remember it also, he's not. But once it's on one document, he's going to look, my tightness, I see what he's doing. Let me milk fragging. If it's on one thing, I want to fight him. So it's not called Midas Dain anymore. He considers it as a chaser. I'm losing. If I put it on one star, I'm going to lose. Because he's going to come up with tightness to fight me.
I can mix up.
I just had him. Zena never said loy chasa is Midas Dain. Here it's not loy chasa. He's screaming chasa, I'm losing. If it's on one document, he's going to come with tightness. He sees my tightness together with his, and he's going to slug it up.
That what the Rashbam says, or forget?
Yeah, no, that's what the Rashbam says.
I said, because if it's on one document, you get mixed up. His tightness is somehow into my tightness because it's on one document. So I can skip a line. I see what he says. He's saying on mine. So maybe that's what they ought to see.
No, that's not what he's saying. No, he says. Here, you want to hear how he brings down? Here, even in the Pnim, look in the Pnim, in the big words. He says, Sharei ata doima lai, you are similar to me, like a lion who's ready to rip. Through this siva of mine that's going to be next to yours and bishtar echad, you're going to be able to work on it and be ma'ayin in my time is a lot. And being that you're a man who's into machlekes, this star will just create more ways for you to tighten against me. Every moment that you're going to see my tightness, you're going to come, I'm going to each of us should have their own star. Your tightness should be in your star, my tightness in my star. Leave me alone. Because there's a big loss for me. Because you're going to keep on hacking a Chinik. That's no good. Okay. Sagt die Mishnah, somebody who paid up part of the loan. He said, instead of me writing that receipt, that out of the $1,000 you paid up $200, I'm going to write your receipt. You know what? Let's save on the receipt. The hishlish, let's give it to a third party to hold it till I pay you the remaining $800. Instead of
about the $200 that it was paid.
It was done in front of Adam, and he says, let the shlish hold the star. He'll hold on to the star. Once you pay the remaining money, the label will get back the star, and I'll rip it, and no more. So what happened? But you don't have to write. That's it. You don't write. You don't pay nobody. It's cheap. Just give him the star. Once the remainder is paid, we'll take care of business. And the lady says to the sholish, to the third guy who's holding the star, if I'm not going to pay up loch to you the rest of the chayr, from today till this deadline, 10 lawyers study, then you can give the malva the star to collect even the money that I paid back. He should be able to collect it again.
That's a ribis? No.
Oh, but he doesn't talk about it. And after time,
you'll be happy to get the $200.
he gave man, and the time reached for him to pay the chayv, and he didn't pay up. So he has to give him back the shot to collect again $1,000. Rabbi Yossi says Yitin, he has to give him the star, the malva, and the malva can collect the whole $1,000. Rabbi Yehuda lo Yitin, he cannot give it to the third party. I mean, the third party cannot give it to the malva. Let's understand. Michael.
He says
this that he said means nothing. Why? What are they arguing about? Sag the Gemara. Rabbi Yosi Saba Asmachta Kanya. Rabbi Yosi says, when somebody says he's mischayv himself, and he says, I'm relying that I'm for sure going to pay on time. That's called an asmachta. He's being mishavid himself to pay. If I don't, he knows for sure he's going to pay on time. If I lost them, and since he relies on that it's for sure going to be paid. 5:05. So since he knows that he's for sure going to be paid, he says it's going to be seimach, and if not, he can collect. So he says that it's a kinyan. If he says, I told you, I'm being mischayv myself that you, I'm for sure going to fulfill. I'm sure going to fulfill my obligation.
Can you help me tonight, please?
Not here, get out.
So it says the kavanah is he's going to be mischayv himself to give it to another person, the money, but tonight that he pays it up at the deadline. So then the halacha is that it is a kinyan. Rabbi Yehuda says asmachta loikanya. Asmachta, just by saying that I take upon myself and I'm for sure going to pay it at a certain zman, it's not a kinyan.
So he can't collect 1,000.
He cannot collect 1,000. Allah like Rabbi Yosi that he could collect. But if it is a kinyan, he says asmachta is a kinyan. He also like Rabbi Yami, when the Balidin came in the case of an asmachta before Rabbi Yami, Rabbi Yami says, listen, Rabbi Yochanan, Melamdeinu Pam Rishona Ushniya, since Rabbi Yochanan had already taught us twice that asmachta is a kinyan, halacha Rabbi Yosi, that he said that the halacha is like Rabbi Yosi, so he says, Ani ma'asa, what could I do? Rabbi Yami is saying, what should I do? If Rabbi Yochanan parking like Rabbi Yosi, and Bechlal we know when it says Rabbi Yosi's name, we say Nimukoi Imoi. That's the lashon. Rabbi Yosi. Whenever you hear Rabbi Yosi, Nimukoi Imoi, logic is with him. Everything that he said was logical. So that's why the halacha is like him. But the halacha, they said, Abba, there's a mois gefeit as vafal became ein halacha Rabbi Yosi. The halacha is not like Rabbi Yosi. And they said asmachta is not a kinyan. So the Gemara in Darim says there's only the only time that will pass on Rabbi Yosi if there was a kinyan on the asmachta, on the chayvus that he made. It was the actual kinyan, but with just words, it's not going to be a kinyan. Zog the Mishnah, somebody who his star chayv was erased. Or either because a lot of ink it was wet or rained, or the ink was wet and smudged, and you couldn't. It's hard to tell little letters. Yeah, or water fell on it, or okay. Says Gemara, what do we do? Maimed Allah Eidim. We set up Eidim that know what was written in the star and are able to testify. Or we get Eidim who had seen the star before it got all smudged up. And they'll testify what was written in the star. And they could testify, or you could get even the original Eidim to testify that it's a true story. We'll talk about that later. And they come in front of Bezdin. The Eisen like Kiyum. And the Bezdin Machtakim to the star. And what do they write? They write like this: Ish Pliny ben Pliny nimchak shtari b'yain Pliny. This person ben Pliny, his star was erased on this and this day, and in it was written that this person borrowed $1,000, or he owes $1,000 to Shimon. Reuben owes $1,000 to Shimon. Pliny Adam, and he says they are the Adam that are chsumah al ashtar. And the new Edom who are standing now in front of Bezdin, they testified about the Edom who were in the star, and they remember the Edom, and they testify also what was written in the star. Then it's good. So we're going to talk about it. Learn from Rabbi. What's the nusach of Kiyum that they write? The Bezdin writes to be Mekayim a new star, right? What's the nusach? So they write like this: B'moisav tlasa havena. Us three dayanim,
Work together.
while sitting, anu huad us three, anu pleni upleni upleni, and they write the names of all the three dayanim who are sitting. Reuben, Shimon, and Levi. Okay, good. V'hoitzi pleni ben pleni ishtam machuk l'fanenu. And this person, this person came and showed us erased star. V'yom pleni on that day. Upleni pleni. And another two Adam that was signed on it said again. So they're saying Adis about the star. So it says the Braisa, continues the Braisa. If in the star Kim was written, who's kaknu le'edusan shel Adim, meaning that we were choiker, we investigated the original Adam that were signed on the star. And we found that the Eidus was meduik, was good Eidus. Goiva, then the Malva could collect his chayv based on this kiyum, because in the kiyum it says that Bezdin was chayke the original Edom. They investigated the Edom, and the Edom said the story that he actually borrowed the money, and this is the amount. So then there's no need for anything for the Malva to do. He takes the star. He can collect from the Levi, he can collect from the Lekuchis. It's 100%. He doesn't have to bring another raya for this chayv. The imlav. But what's if this is not the lashon that was written in the Shtar Kiyum? Let's say it wasn't written who's kaknu, that they investigated the original Adam. It just says that the Adam testified, the new Adam testified that there were two Adam in the Shtar. And what was written in the Shtar? The halva was $1,000. Do they know if the story is true? No, they don't know. If it said who's kaknu.
What kind of kiyum is that?
Oh, 1 minute. So then, if it was not written that the best in the kiyum, in the Shtar Kiyum, was not written that best investigated the original Adam about the story, then the Malva will have to bring proof about the amount that was written in the Shtar, about the Zman that was written in the Shtar, and all the details. Because all the testifying are being Mekayim, that two Adam testified what was written in this erased Shtar. It could be it's a false star, so you have to get proof that it's a real star. So you want to nikra if the star was ripped, meaning by a man ripped it, puzzle, then it's a puzzle star, because that means that the labor. No, you see, it's ripped. The whole star was ripped. The guy put it together. Let's say he taped it up. It's nothing. It means that the labor ripped it because he paid up the chayv. That's why he ripped it. He paid up the chayv. He got the star and then he tore it. And you found pieces of it. Yeah. Niskareya, what's if it ripped on its own? Meaning, let's say you could tell it got stuck in a door and it ripped. Kosher, then it's going to be a kosher star. Nimchak, what's if it was erased? Oy netashtesh, or the ink smudged the letters on the star. So then, imri shumei nikar, if the lining of the words are recognized, then it's kosher. So what's the case of that he ripped it? What's the case that it was ripped on its own? Nikra means that Bezdin ripped it because it was paid up. Niskareya from Zechalein means that if it was ripped on its own, it's not from Bezdin. What's a case that Bezdin ripped it? That when Bezdin would rip it, they would rip it with the place of the Edom sign, or where the Zman is, or the Teiref. The Teiref has all the vital points that a star needs over there. That it's either
all the important things.
the three places, which is the Ikar Star, the name of the Malva, the amount of money, all the important things. If it was ripped over there,
That's
then
at the top of the star. Usually.
that's the Teiref is the Nusach Hashtar. So the Teiref is on the bottom. There was these Arabs that came to Pumbedisa, but the Havakansi are also the Inshe. They were coming to rob the land from the Jews. And not only that, they would rob it and they would take the deeds. The Arabs. The owners of these fields saw the Arabs are coming, so they ran before Abaya. They said to Abaya, "Let's starting," and he says, "Look, we're showing you."
This is in Persia. In Persia, there weren't any Arabs. There were Muslims.
Here's Ishmaelim, he calls them. I think it's Arab. So they said to the Abaya, "Look at our star, please. Right away, write us another star. So when they come and take away our karka, we'll give them one star. We'll have another star from you. So when the Yidden come back, we'll be able to prove that it's our land." That was in Eretz Yisrael with Yirmiyah. Okay, the mitnes chat that if one of the studies are going to be taken away from us, we'll have one left over, and when we come back, we'll be able to prove that this is our karka. Amalahu, Abaye said, "Listen, what can I do for you?" Avsaf said, "Ein koisen shtei studies al sadachas." We cannot write two studies on one star, on one that's sada. We have to be afraid that the lekeach will collect twice. What does that mean? Ruvain sold Shimon Asada. And he sells him with responsibilities. That Reuben, it says, if this field was stolen, you can come back to me, I'll have to pay you back. Or if I owed somebody money, and this field I sold you after the loan, so the guy will come take away the field, so then I'm mechuyev to pay you back. Who's coming for two studies? The one that bought the field from Reuben. He has to prove. He says, look, they came to Abaya, the lekeach comes to Abaya, he says, look, Shimon says, look at my star, it says, I bought it from Reuben. So now he wants Abaya to write him another star. What's going to happen? This field is going to be taken away by Levi, the Balcheba of Reuben, and then Shimon will come to Reuben and say, Reuben, give me my money. They took away my field. So Reuben says, I have no money, but I sold two fields to Chaim Yankel and Eitzer Matched. So now Shimon will go. Shimon has two studies. We'll go to Chaim Yankel, and he has to give them the star. Here, look at the star. I own this field that Levi took away. He gives the star to Chaim Yankel that he can prove that now he took away his field. But now he has two studies. He's now going to go to Eitzer Matched also, and we'll give him another star to Gamnen Tzvei. So he'll take away two fields. That is why we can't give him two studies. Have a katar delay, but they were bothering him. Abai, we must have another star. Amalei, Abai came up with a chap. Amalei l'safrei, he said to his seifrim, Zilk sev go write them a star. Ala mechok, on a erased star. The Edav on the yah, but the Edav should be on the fresh part of the star. The puzzle, we know, if the story of the star is on erased part, and the signature is on the fresh part of the star, on the new part of the star, it's a puzzle star. So I said, it's not going to be puzzle. What do you told him to write up the star, right?
You told him, right?
Abaya told us to write up the star, then erase it, then write it again. And the Edom should stay on the part that's not erased. In fact, Abaya said before, the Gemara said before, that if you have a rishum, if you could see the markings of the first time that it was written, it's kosher. So even if they erase the second, the first time, and they write a second time, they could go and erase a little bit of the second time. They'll see the rishumai from the first time, and it's going to be kosher. Amalei Sabai said, Mika Mina, do you think I told them to write the whole story once and then erase it and then write it again? So you'll have rishum and they no, that's not what I told him. I told him write Aleph base. I told him stop write, don't write a story. So you won't have any rishumi of the first story. There's no first story. There's no stories. Asher Yotz at the Yishipman, and then at Hizgemek, and then he wrote a story. So it's nothing. Okay? So therefore there won't be a rishum. There won't be rishumei, and therefore the star, there won't be rishumei, and therefore the star will be kosher. Okay.